I think the cause for your dilemmas and your compulsion to leave these things and your dissatisfaction with your choices has to do with a lack of self-knowledge. Assalamu alaikum. Got a question through Facebook, and the link for my Facebook page is in the description box for those of you who wish to get a hold of me and send your questions or topics you would like to hear some thoughts about. And also, for those of you who don't have Facebook, you can either send me a message through YouTube, some of you have done that, or you can go to andalusonline.org and just through the contact form, you can send me a question through there. So this sister wanted to remain anonymous. Man, you guys are really concerned about people finding out about your deepest, darkest secrets. It's not that bad, but anyways, I'll respect your wishes. And it's a question for Scattered Thoughts, so we're gonna do it here. So if it's a bit long, guys, you can blame her. Maybe that's why she wants to remain anonymous. She doesn't want to get all the flack for making this video longer than it should. I've stumbled upon these Scattered Thoughts videos because for some time now I've been trying to expose myself to accepting Islam in my daily practices. Your two videos on the tribulation of abundance and my education and career choices are making me depressed, resonated highly and gave me a spark of insight that I've been lately seeking. But I would highly appreciate your advice on my specific context because I admit I'm still in need of further advice. Hopefully I can help you out. Let's see. I have recently quit a prestigious position that was the best thing anyone my age could dream to have. I was performing excellently and I loved many aspects of my work except for one. It filled me with anxiety as it was with a government I didn't politically or ethically feel proud to serve. After 2 years, I had the courage to quit, but nothing else was yet arranged. Where I live, job opportunities are scarce, but having a job is my way to serve an internal urge to be involved in the political/economic scene in my country, although that is not the area of my training. Therefore, I become very restless and anxious if I'm jobless, i.e. not in the know of what's happening around me. I was very pleased when God gave me the opportunity to another job, which felt like a miracle knowing the economic circumstances. However, I feel compelled to leave the organization just a month after I started, as I just can't feel good about it and emotionally very unsatisfied with the job and the environment. My question is, how do I know if I'm making a decision that doesn't conflict with showing gratitude to God's blessing of actually having a job? What is the limit of God's decree and personal judgment here? Should I just push myself knowing I could be extremely patient but would feel miserable every day? Many thanks in advance, and I would appreciate any insights. So I'm not gonna directly answer the question, but I'm gonna give you some thoughts about it because it's got thoughts. This business of God's decree, I think you guys are still struggling with trying to understand how this works. Let me give you kind of a hypothetical example. I personally, with my education, with my degree, with all of the things that I've accomplished, I could put all that aside and I could go down the street and I could work at the coffee shop. I guarantee you, I could manage myself a job at a coffee shop. I can get that. I can become a barista. Is that how you'd say it for a guy? A barista? Sounds like a feminine thing, but anyways, not that we're going to be prejudiced. But I could be a barista, a coffee barista. And I could get that job. And then I could say, God's decree, I got the job. Intellectually, I'm not going to be satisfied. Emotionally, I'm not going to be satisfied. Well, it's coffee, let's face it, I'm going to be satisfied. But intellectually, I'm not going to be satisfied. I'm going to be restless. And it's a job that doesn't engage. I need for my job, for me personally, to engage me at an intellectual level. Even if I'm doing something physical, I need to have my brain really challenged while I'm doing the task. And no offense to baristas out there, it's not the most intellectually challenging job that you can get. So, is it valid for me to say that I am now going with God's decree because I have this job, and am I showing a lack of gratitude for not taking this position, for example? No, it's not. God's decree is not, you're not living in a deterministic way. You're not compelled. That's the whole idea of free will that we have in Islam. You're not compelled to go down a particular path. What you have is choices that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides you with, and based on these choices, you have these choices based on your calculations, whatever circumstances that you have, you make a choice based on your ethics, your ideals, all of these things. So you're making a choice. You're not showing a lack of gratitude by giving up a job. You're just exercising a free will choice where if this is something that you don't feel it resonates with your personal convictions, with your ethics, with your principles, whatever it is that you feel conflicts with, then that's not a lack of gratitude. That's just you going with your ethics. I could get a job doing things that are unethical. I guarantee you I could do it. Anybody could do these things. Am I showing a lack of gratitude for rejecting these opportunities? Of course I'm not. Now, what is the limit of God's decree and personal judgment here? Should I just push myself knowing that I could be extremely patient and could feel miserable every day? I don't know. I would go back and ask myself, if I were in your shoes, why am I taking these jobs in the first place? What is it that's driving me to apply for these jobs? Aside from, is it money? Is it external expectations, family expectations of me, of where I should be? You say that you work for a government that you don't agree with politically. If you're looking for an ideal, utopic kind of world where you agree with everything, if you want to be involved in politics, you want to agree with everything, then politics is not your game. You shouldn't get into politics if that's what you're looking for. You're compelled to start, you feel compelled to leave an organization after a month. Well, if you're feeling this compulsion to leave after a month, I would ask myself, well, is it because I'm being presented with things that I fundamentally disagree with? Or is it because I'm feeling a little bit of a restless, I'm facing a challenge that I don't like to be put up in? Or why did I even start in this job in the first place? I mean, I'm just giving you kind of the things that are going through my mind. By the way, this is literally the second time. I just opened up the email, skimmed it, the message, skimmed it, and then I decided to answer it. So these are like my first thoughts right now that I'm giving you. So I would ask myself, what attracted me in the first, this company, this job, this position, whoever is the supervisor, clearly they didn't just contact you out of the blue. If they did, you still had the option to respond. You didn't get this job by being dragged into it. You applied willingly to the job, or if you were recruited, you willingly accepted. So if you're in a bind, let's say you're in a financial bind and you need to have a job so that you can have income, I would say just, and if it's not something illegal that you're doing and it's not something that is clearly impermissible in Islamic law, then I would say keep your job until you find something that you can because you still have to deal with the practicalities of life. This idealistic, follow your dreams and follow what you love and all this, that's all great and fine and dandy, but you still have to account for, I gotta pay my bills and I gotta put food on the table and have a roof over my head. So if it's the case that you need some income for that, then by all means stay in the job, and if it's permissible job, until you find something else. But I don't know. I have been in positions where I took jobs just because they were presented to me. And I took them because I didn't have any direction. This was years ago. I didn't have direction of where I wanted to go, what I wanted to be. And when it became clear to me what I wanted to be, I dropped everything. And I went back to school, and I was like a good 3-4 years older than everybody in my class, but I didn't care because I had now a direction what I wanted to do, and I've been doing it ever since. And every move that I make right now is based on these calculations. Some of them have been more challenging than others. I'm about to start a program that's kind of scaring that, bejesus out of me. But I'm gonna do it because it's something that I'm passionate about. I'm in a position where I'm able to do it. I've been blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have parents to, you know, reach out to so that they can help me out in going through this process. I mean, I've got all of these things going on, so I'm being calculative in my moves and how I make them. Everything that I do is based on these things. So I just accept positions because they're offered to me. What else can I tell you? Excuse me. Political, economic scene in my country, this internal urge to be involved. You want to be involved in political and economic scene, you're going to have to come to terms with the fact that you're going to have to see things that you do not like to see. You might have to do things you might not like to do, as long as they're not impermissible Islamically. But from a political perspective, I mean, I don't like, there's a reason why I don't get involved in politics, like as an active, you know, politician. Because for me, not to trash on anybody that gets involved in it and anything like that, I mean, it requires a type of mentality. It requires a particular personality to be involved in politics that can handle this type of, the only word I can describe is hypocrisy. I'm sorry for, you know, people that are involved in politics, but you have to be able to handle a certain level of hypocrisy. You have, and the PC term for it is pragmatic. You have to be pragmatic. I don't know. Personally, I have certain positions that I would adhere to, and from a political perspective, if you're trying to get votes, if you're trying to get jobs, if you're trying, it's just not me. That's just not me. So I don't get involved in it. If that's not you, then you just have to come to terms with that. You might need to take some time off and take some reflection, you know. Go off into, I don't know, go visit Morocco or something. Go to southern Spain. You know where you should go? Go to Alquería de Rosales. Alquería de Rosales is a beautiful site in outside of Granada. And spend some time there. Go look up their programs and see if they have something that you can go there for a couple of weeks. Away from everything. It's in the middle of the mountains. Maybe you need to get away from all of these distractions, because being in a city, I'm going to assume that you're in a city because you're wanting to be involved in political and economic scene. That in itself could be distracting enough from you being able to have an internal reflection. We don't value that much anymore. I wrote a piece that you can, I'll put the link for it below, but it's in Iman Wire, the blog for Al Medina Institute, about silent stillness. You know, you can discover a lot about yourself and what you want and what you desire just by sitting silently still and reflecting and having inner reflections. Prestigious position. The term prestigious, man, we're gonna go long here. The term prestigious, think about it. When I got my PhD, I went to a friend of mine who also got his PhD at the same time. And I was shaking his hand. I was like, hey, doctor, you know, doctor, what's going on? And he's like, he gave me kind of a, I wasn't hurt by it because it's the truth. He said, can you just think for a second about this thing that they gave us, this PhD, and now we're called doctors? If you go back far enough in time, somebody who was not a PhD, who was not a doctor, granted the first PhD. So the first PhD was granted this title by people who are not PhDs. So that puts things in perspective for you. The prestigiousness, the prestige of any position or anything in life is something that we grant to it. Society grants to it. So when we look at a place like Harvard, Yale, Columbia, all of these, you know, Ivy League schools and such, we're the ones giving them that prestige. But if you examine a place like Harvard and some of the people that they invite and some of the people that they hire and some of the people that get involved in it, then you start to question things a little bit. It's like, seriously? This is supposed to be the most prestigious institute that values truth, and you put people like this to teach these particular subjects, which they have no expertise in at all in these subjects. So, career choices, okay, yeah, insight. What else can I tell you? I'm trying to avoid mentioning your name just so that I don't fall into that error. I mean, I think just to close this off so that we're not talking too much, I think the cause for your dilemmas and your compulsion to leave these things and your dissatisfaction with your choices has to do with a lack of self-knowledge. If you're not aware of what you like, what you're about, what you want, and you've tried different things, maybe the solution for you now is to stop, pull away, unplug, and take an extended vacation. They call it a sabbatical in academia. Just pull out, go off somewhere, disconnect yourself from social media, don't follow politics or the news for a set period of time, however long you feel you might need to do that for, and do something totally outside of the norm for you. Something that you don't normally do. Something that's out of character. So if you're somebody who, let's say, a little bit more homely and you just want to stay in your locality, whatever, go travel somewhere if you have the means to do that. Go off somewhere, go camping, go to nature, do something out of the norm. That might reveal something for you about yourself that you weren't aware of. The second thing you should do is, and this is something a lot of people don't do, sit down with a paper pad and engage in continuous writing. And literally, this is not about you constructing anything specific. Just write whatever comes to your mind and just keep writing. And if you get to a point where your mind goes blank, just write blah, blah, blah. Just keep writing. No matter what happens, just keep writing. And then until the next thought comes to your mind. As you continue to formulate these thoughts and write them down, what you're going to do is articulate your inner world, and your inner world is a world where language is not actually there. Language is supposed to be a reflection of your inner world. It's an external reflection of it. Until you are able to externalize that, you may not be able to see what's in there. So the writing is really a mirror into your soul, into yourself. So maybe that's another trick you can do, so that you can figure out what it is that you're really passionate about, or something that you really want to do, and where you want to see your life go to next. There's just a couple of things. I hope they help you in some way. Just some scattered thoughts for you, and I'll leave it at that because this video is getting way too long. At any rate, please include me in your prayer. I hope this helps you. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.